councilman in Old Hickory, part of Hermitage also, which is District 11. Council Lady Irwin Evans is on here today. This is a proposal by Vaseline Properties. We had a meeting earlier, and some of the people wanted to have Council Lady Irwin Evans in here, which is in respect to her and her constituents as well. Vaseline Properties has this proposal for 20 townhomes on Andrew Jackson Parkway. The last meeting we were at, we continued it to include Council Lady Evans, and also they did respect our request for a traffic impact study, which we have that now, and we'll discuss that tonight. Clay Cable is on here, I believe, with some of the people with Vaseline Properties, and I'm going to let him talk about it a little bit again and the traffic study and what they're proposing. And Clay, can you discuss again and go back over what we discussed at the last meeting and the traffic impact study, please?
Councilman, this is Mac McClung. How are you guys?
Sorry about that.
That's okay. So our engineer, Greg Harris, is here as well. We were trying to get the traffic engineer, Gillian Fishbach, to join us, but she was not able. So she could answer any additional questions. But I think between Greg and myself, we can probably explain it. It's pretty self-explanatory. So that's really all that's been done, obviously, between then and now, and waiting on that study. So we're happy to ask any questions, and if you could get it up on the screen, we can talk about it. Do you have that, Matthew?
I've got it on my screen. I'm watching it now.
We sent the study. We don't see it.
I think they have the study ready for the.
Oh.
Send it to Matt. So he might.
Okay. Matt, are you able to put it on the screen?
It's on the screen now. I have the site layout.
Okay, I'm sorry. I was thinking you were going to put the traffic study up there.
Okay, I can. Let me grab it. Is it on the screen now for you guys?
Yes, it is. You can scroll up to, I'm going to let Greg chime in here, since he is the one that dealt with Gillian and went through it all, but they have highlighted the areas that are relevant.
Matt, if you can scroll down to page 11, that shows the existing level of services. Okay.
There you go.
Okay, that shows the conditions that are that exist today. Coming out of pass, you've got in the morning you have a level B service. It's a brief delay, and then in the afternoon, the evening time, you have an average delay, which is where we are now. So, and both of those are very adequate. It goes up to a level F, which is an extreme delay. So a level C is very acceptable. So that's where we are today. If you would,
when you say we are today, you mean the existing traffic?
Yeah, those
coming out of their name.
That's right. Those are the existing conditions that were measured back in December. If you go down a couple of pages to page 13, another thing that the traffic engineer did was looking to see if a traffic signal was warranted. And she did the study on that, and there's 3 different conditions that you look at, and they're listed: the warrant condition A, warrant 1, condition B, and warrant 2. And if any one of those 3 conditions is met, then a traffic light is warranted. And under the existing conditions, none of those conditions were met. So there is not a warrant for a traffic light at this point.
Hey, excuse me for interrupting. This is Erin Evans. And so the residents that live across the street on Rachel Donaldson, I think one of the questions as I'm looking at this is I'm wondering if you could define a little bit more what warrant condition 1, A and B and 2 actually mean, so that way we're all on the same page. Thank you.
Yeah, I wish the traffic engineer were out here to help better explain that. I was reading in her report to see, and I don't have a good answer for that. I know it's based on the length of time that you sit there, traffic accidents, those kind of things are factored into that, but I don't know the details of what the Uniform Traffic Control Code breaks out those warrants. I don't have that in front of me.
Councilman Evans, this is Ken Renner. I can get you those by email tomorrow.
Okay, thank you. And then the other question that I had received was, I guess, about the physical way that you actually do a traffic study. And I know I've had limited experiences with traffic studies in general so far in my term. But can you kind of, is there high level information that you can share on the call that explains how data is collected for a traffic study?
Yeah, they do traffic counts. So they go out one day and they'll set, you've probably seen, they'll have little kind of cords across the road that count the number of vehicles that pass and what direction they're coming from. And so the turning movements are counted, the straight through traffic, all of that data is collected. And then the traffic manuals provide estimates on for future growth, and also number of trips per day that are generated. So there's kind of some standards that are applied to all traffic studies. And that's one thing that we'll get into is the difference between a single family home versus a townhome and the number of trips per day that are generated. So that's the where all the information is pulled from, those tables, and then that actual real world data that was collected. I think she did that back in early to mid December was when that data was collected.
Thank you. And then my last question before I'll stop asking questions and let you move forward on I know I had one resident that had expressed some concern because she did not see the physical collection devices like those little strips or whatever on the road. And so are you able to confirm that she did do that and it wasn't only a table-based data collection? Sure,
I'd be glad to. Yeah, we can, I'll talk with, she's the president of the firm that does this, and I'll get with her and confirm the actual numbers that she collected and how she did that.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Jeremy Hodge here. I'm a resident in the community that we're discussing right now on Rachel Donaldson. And just a point of clarification for my understanding, we took a single day measurement during December when we're in the middle of a pandemic, people are going nowhere, and the kids are out of school. So nobody's in and out of the neighborhood for that either. Am I understanding that correct?
Yes. Yeah. I mean that.
Okay. So, and just one simple comment on it for the benefit of council people that are involved as they seek to represent us effectively in this. That to me does not sound like a reasonable way to determine what normal impact it looks like at all, or what normal traffic levels look like. We've measured a single day. We don't know which day of the week, and that can have a significant impact during a low travel month, even in the best of circumstances, while kids are home from school and people are temporarily working remotely because of a pandemic. That just doesn't feel effective to me, but I'll let you carry on with the rest of your information.
Well, we'll confirm with her exactly what she did, whether it was 1 day, 2 days.
Typically, it can be more than a week worth of count.
And I'd add that even a full week under current circumstances doesn't tell us anything about what it's going to look like when we start to see some normalcy as the vaccine gets out, people start getting back in their office, and kids start getting back in school.
Okay.
So, and that's just commentary for the council people that are representing those of us who live in the area.
Hey, it's Erin again, and I apologize for interrupting again, but and I mean, to that point, I guess, can you also clarify when you're asking the question about the physical counts, is there any kind of allowance, like for instance, based on what Mr. Hodge is describing around our current circumstances, or is it based on more historical tables, that maybe were whenever, there was more traffic on the roads and that kind of thing. So if you're able to provide clarification tomorrow or something, or next week about that, that would be helpful too. And thank you very much.
Sure.
Yeah.
Be happy to do that.
We'll see. I don't know if she applied a factor to that. We'll need to ask the question on that.
Yeah, and what I'd ask her to do is what is, where you're at now and not needing a traffic light, how many additional cars would it require based on these traffic light standards? How many more extra cars would it take to get it up to a level where it would require a traffic light? So we kind of have an idea of where you're at now and how much cushion there is, I might say, between the difference in that and how many extra cars would it require traveling through there to require a traffic light? If I can get that info too, please.
Be glad to do that.
Matt, if you could go to the next page. I didn't highlight this, but I was just reading back over the first paragraph, and apparently she's used some historical data from TDOT as well. So, which, the question came up about the pandemic, and maybe today's numbers are less, but it appears that she did take that into account. In that first paragraph, she mentions some of the TDOT traffic counts, historical data. So I would say that she probably did take that into account.
And that data is remarkably steady.
Yeah, I mean, we're going back 2005. So, and in her estimation, this represents on into the next year, you see 2022 conditions.
I would be surprised if they take a pandemic cross-section and say this is reality.
Yeah.
She said she uses historical data.
Yeah.
Well, I think some of the concerns, the schools up the street, and I know that was a concern the last meeting we had, and I understand that completely. I can't say exactly how many people will drive through there once schools opens back up. I know another consideration was the school zone is on up the road a little bit further.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I can, if this goes through, I don't know if I can move that school zone down a little bit further where you slow people down before they get to Tyler Drive.
Councilman Hager, I don't know that moving the school zone impacts the ease with which we turn out of here. You've got either a long line of slow moving cars to deal with if you do that, or the current situation of fast accelerating cars, but maybe with a little more space between them as they break out of the school zone. And so I don't know that that makes a measurable difference one way or the other.
May not, but that was just a concern
Yeah.
at the last.
No,
meeting.
absolutely it is. The school zone's a concern. The fire hall's a concern, for sure. But I appreciate your thoughts on creative solutions.
That on the next page is where we get into the trip generation. And what we asked her to do was to look at two situations, one with the townhomes, the 20 townhomes, and then the other with 4 units per acre single family. So it was 20 townhomes versus 16 single family units. And you can see for the 20 townhomes, the kind of the book standard is 5.5 trips per day. And for single family, it's 12 trips per day. So in 20 townhomes, it's less traffic than 16 single family homes. And the single family is just below that table. If you scroll down just a bit.
Councilman Hagar, Ken Renner, what we're looking at there is the 110 trips per day for the townhomes versus 192 trips per day, according to the traffic studies for single family homes. So we'd have an actual increase of traffic of 75% if we did single family rather than townhomes at the site.
Yeah, and this is Max speaking, and I can tell you that's very consistent with, we've developed about 5,000 lots around Nashville in the last 20 years, and this traffic studies have been consistent with that traffic count almost the entire time. There's some areas where it may be 9 counts a day, depending on how urban or suburban it is for single family. But it's generally worked out to be at least twice as much as a townhome, just for the simple fact of the type of families or lack of children that are in towns versus single.
Yeah, that was what I was going to ask, was why the townhomes created less family.
It's because they're not going to soccer and dance and to and from school and all that kind of stuff. It's usually a dual income family making 2 trips per day and 1 to the store or something, that kind of thing, versus single family. It's a completely different matrix of trips and purposes. So
Okay,
what we're proposing is really not designed for kids.
And we're counting a trip as either an entrance or an exit. Is that right?
Yes,
Okay, so leaving the house and coming back is 2 trips.
that's correct.
Right.
Okay, and so in a household like mine with two working adults and 3 school-age children, we each of us leave once in the morning and come home in the afternoon. And then, for example, tonight my daughter has dance, so there's another trip in or another trip out and another trip in. So then our house would have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 trips in and out with, if we went out to eat 2, then we call it 8 trips per day in a household with 2 working adults and 3 school-age children.
Yeah.
I don't know how we come to the number 12, and if it comes up consistently, then I guess it does. I have a hard time as a father of a decent sized family reconciling myself to 12 trips.
Yeah, I think it has.
Until you have children that are driving themselves, I suppose, which that's certainly not the average household in a neighborhood like this.
They take that into account. I mean, it's driven by population facts. It's driven by average age of kids. I'm a good example of that. I mean, I've done everything you're doing with 3 kids too, and so as they get older, there's more trips. But then there's birthday parties and functions and school. I mean, it doesn't take one day. It takes the averages like we were.
Oh, no doubt. But I'm just saying, I would call 12 trips in and out an insanely busy day for our house, not a normal day.
Yeah, I mean, I think on our last call, I mentioned that most of our studies reflect 9 to 10, and that's not always the case. It just depends on the size homes in the area, the children, the population facts. I mean, there's so many factors that go into these. And I mean, I never even spoke to the lady the company that did this. This was all done by third party. So we have no idea exactly what their science was behind it, other than it meets the standards by all planning departments. They require all these certain things, and if they don't abide by it, then they'll no longer be able to conduct their work. But either way, I mean,
thank you for the context. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I mean, we're okay. I mean, I'm sitting here thinking through it. I mean, we're probably okay building single family homes too. It's not that we have to do townhomes. I mean, it's not a bad project with single family. It's just we are listening to our sales team and the folks that we get a lot of calls from, and they're asking for empty nester, master down product, and what we're shooting to do there is more in that that direction. That'd be in that $350,000 to $450,000 price point, which is a good price range. And so that's kind of the direction we were going and what we were thinking. But
sure. Well, I'll stop interrupting the traffic study and let you get through that, because traffic is I think of concern to the neighborhood. And I'm a board member for the HOA, as well as active on the Facebook page and hear commentary from people. So it definitely is a concern, and we've covered a good bit of that. I'd like to let you cover the rest of it, and then whatever other information you want to share. Then I've got some commentary I'd like to share with the council people on the call, as they seek to represent us in making a decision on zoning. So.
This is Chris. I have a quick question before we move on from the traffic study, just with regards to the analysis that was done. Was it done for just our area leading to turning into Rachel Donaldson Pass, or was it done for the whole of the Andrew Jackson Parkway, past Tulip Grove, et cetera? Because what I've always wondered is, what is our traffic in comparison to Stoners down there where they did get a traffic light? I can't imagine it's that different. So how did they meet the qualifications and our area hasn't? I just wondered if the traffic study captured that.
No, she only did the study for this intersection. Traffic along Andrew Jackson Parkway is a big part of that, obviously.
All that patterns flow into it.
Yeah, so that was factored into the study as the traffic count along Andrew Jackson Parkway. So, but it didn't expand out other than this intersection.
Okay, all right, because I still have challenges understanding how it's perceptively that they have more traffic there and they were able to get a traffic light and we didn't. It would seem the same to me. So there's just a kind of cognitive dissonance I'm experiencing. If anyone has an answer for me, I would love that. I don't know if this is the group that would have that answer.
I'm in complete agreement with you on that, and have wondered ever since they got the light how it happened, that they would have one there, and then here where visibility is worse, pulling out of the neighborhood, that we wouldn't have one.
Yeah.
Yeah, usually they don't. I mean, unfortunately, rarely do they take visibility into account, which I don't disagree they shouldn't, but they rarely do that. I mean, it's all based on traffic and where it's coming from, feeding into that intersection. So then maybe there's more traffic passing through that neighborhood or through that light from somewhere else. It's just hard to say without doing a study on, the whole entire corridor. But the city and the state probably has some base information that would be available. They do it every year, just about on every road.
All right, maybe I'll try to track them down and I'll report back.
I mean, it's like an open-ended question that keeps going back, and but we can attempt to help you get whatever information you need. So that's really it. I mean, I think the last thing we had was outside of we can go through the traffic station more, but I think you guys main concern was trips and traffic and the like. Is there any other questions you have as it relates to the traffic situation?
Matt, if you want to scroll down to page 21, that's the level of service based on the projected traffic if the development were constructed. So the level of service remained the same with the addition of the 20 townhomes. So we had level B in the morning and then level C in the evening, and that's true coming out of both Rachel Donaldson and the new development. So that it didn't change the level of service.
One thing the traffic engineer did recommend was that coming out of the townhome development, we have 2 exit lanes, one for left turns and one to go straight and to turn right. And we do plan to follow that recommendation.
And then Matt, on page 24, she evaluated future conditions to see if the 20 townhomes would have pushed the intersection to the point of needing a traffic light, and it did not. So there isn't enough traffic coming out of, enough additional traffic coming out of the new development to make any of the warrants. So that stayed the same as well. And then the next page is her conclusions and recommendations. It basically shows that it doesn't generate a lot of traffic in the morning or afternoon, and that the traffic signal isn't warranted.
And can y'all go over the development again and exactly how tall they're gonna be, what they're gonna be made out of, and what other amenities are there?
Sure. We're looking at doing a nice brick and 4-rail painted ranch style fence across the front, heavily landscaped. They will be 2-story. There may be a few that are 3-story, but it would be the same heights as the homes around the neighborhood. So that this product again is kind of designed to be a really wide master down 2-car garage, and they would be brick, stone, hardy board, no vinyl siding, 40-year dimensional shingle, all high-end, high-efficiency, quality product that will be very maintenance-free. Often when we do this hardy board siding, we use a color-coded siding that doesn't require paint ever. So it's manufactured into the product and goes on the color, and it doesn't require painting. So 10 years from now, it's not going to need a paint job if someone refuses to do it. So we do that a lot now, and people are paying for it. So you kind of pay for it a little bit more on the front end. It pushes the sale price up, but at the end of the day, it's a better product. It's more maintenance-free long-term, and the homeowners get a better value out of it. But they'll all be heavily landscaped. They'll all have back patios. We'll have fence enclosures. The few units that face Andrew Jackson there, units 3 through 7, that was at the request of the staff, the Planning Commission. They wanted those to face the road versus have their backs against the road. So those will be rear entry garages with a common neighborhood sidewalk that leads to the front porches of each one. So it'll kind of more have a front porch to addressing Andrew Jackson, which you don't see much of that now except for the older ranch style homes. Of course, we'll have sidewalks throughout, and we'll probably install a dog park. There'll be a mailbox center, so there'll be a centralized mailbox and street lights as well, guest parking to be sufficient for all the units.
And price range again?
$350 to $450. We'll have some a little bit smaller and some will be larger. They'll average 2,000 square feet. We'll probably have some in the 1,800s up to 2,400. And the larger ones we feel like will sell for at least 400,000 if we had them to sell today.
Okay,
This is
thank you.
Crystal again. I have a quick question. After the development is complete and their family members that have moved into the house, the presumption is the traffic will certainly go up based on those numbers that were given previously. Will we at that time be able to petition for a new traffic study with the thought that certainly at that point we would have met the threshold potentially for a traffic light?
Well, hopefully the traffic study after they're built is going to be the same as the traffic study now, because if it's not, they didn't do a very good job. So yes, we could. We're happy to provide. I'll agree to pay for a new traffic study when we're finished if you want. If you want to see that, I don't think it's going to show anything different. But I'd say the project will take us from the time we start site work until it's finished completely would be 36 months, because it'll take us 6 to 9 months to do the site work and a couple of years to build the units.
I'm hoping in 36 months the pandemic will at least have subsided a little bit. And so I would hope that it would be a little bit different.
Yeah, that'd be good for all of us, really. So, it's a nice Class A property. You guys' neighborhood across the street is nice. I've driven through there. The homes are nice. I certainly don't feel like this product is inferior in any way. It's also high quality material. Some of your homes in there are all brick and some are partial brick. And so, it's very similar. We're just going to have a little different architectural style. This will be a little more rustic, modern farmhouse look that is an appealing current look that people like a lot, and they're willing to pay for it.
Hey there, it's Erin. And Councilman Hagar, you may have this information. Since I'm not familiar with your company, are there other projects in the Hermitage or Donaldson or Old Hickory areas that you've already done that are similar, or is this something different for you in this part of town?
Yes and no. That we have a project that's not too far from there that is about 15 years old on Tulip Grove Road. That is called Tulip Cove, COVE, Tulip Cove. and I built about 120 townhomes in there. They are much smaller, and they are vinyl and stone, but it's not far at all from this property. And I was in there today. In fact, I bought a unit back from someone in there a few months ago and renovated it and just sold it. And it was like 1,400 feet, and we sold it for $275, I think. But it's a nice looking neighborhood. I drove through there today, actually. I'd encourage you to go look at it because it's 15 years old and it looks great. And then we're building not too far out on Lebanon Road in Hickory Hills. We've done about the same amount of townhomes, 120 or so, and it's a 20. We have kind of the same product. It's just the updated version of what Tulip Cove is, and it's also vinyl siding. But that's what was in the neighborhood, and we wouldn't have been able to get the price because we couldn't really change it up much. But they sell very well, and it looks good, and it's well maintained. So the important part in a lot of these things is, as you guys know, is how you organize the homeowner association and make sure there's enough money in there to pay for it.
Thank you.
Those are the ones right before you get Chandler Road, aren't they? Tulip Grove and Chandler.
That's right. You turn. That's right. You go down and cross the track, and that little bridge, and it's right there on the right.
Right.
Erin, this is Jeremy. I'd point out a couple other Vaseline developments that I found in my research, and maybe we get some more commentary here. But from the appearance of them looks similar to what we saw in the presentation last time. One of those is a development in Goodlettsville. Those are pricing out from about $250,000. It looks like. They've got townhomes of Hickory Hills in Old Hickory. That appear to be in the 250 range as well. And those look like they're still underway from what I can tell, but there's already some rental property popping up in there. And then one that looks a little more complete, Bristol Creek in Bellevue, looks like those are selling right around 300,000. And I'm seeing several rentals pop up there. And we're being pitched here a proposal to change the zoning and allow for more density for this property, with the expectation of owner occupied property. But we can see from real near experience if we look in District 15 with Mr. Syracuse, the development that's happening right by Briley Parkway right now on Lebanon Road that was originally pitched. And that is 3.1 acres, so it's slightly smaller than the property across the street. It was originally pitched for 25 townhomes and has turned into 63 apartments, apartment condominiums, and 16 townhouses now, which is a significant change from the expectation when that thing was first approved. And I don't know. I know that you as a council member understand that, the things that are told to us at this point don't really have to be held to by the developer, but I don't know that other neighbors really recognize that. And so therein is a huge issue for us in terms of why we oppose changing the density allowance, because that's not something that walks backwards and that ever in time. And what we're being told now doesn't have to be held to.
So you left out Stone Ridge.
I haven't seen Stone Ridge. Go ahead and tell us about it. I'd love to hear.
It's on the same website. I mean, those townhomes are done for $400,000, and they're 20
Sure.
in one part.
Right.
And I developed Brass Lantern in Brentwood. It's across the street from the Brentwood High School, and there's houses in there that are $4 million, and we have a rental in there.
Sure, and I'm not saying that you guys don't have experience in building nicer homes. My point is that if we look at Bellevue, Old Hickory, Goodlettsville, those are all kind of the same periphery from downtown as Hermitage, and usually have pretty similar home prices. Here we sit across the street in significantly larger single-family homes on decent-sized lots, from this development that you're talking about. And, an average home value over here is somewhere in the, 350 range. And we're talking about selling new, but smaller units with no yard for, that price and more, which I won't agree. I won't say that that's not in the realm of possibility. I deal with a lot of real estate myself, but that's in Hermitage dollars, that's a pretty steep ask, to talk about $400,000 for a 2,000 square foot townhouse.
Look at that. He's doing a duplex that's selling for $440 right now, and it's the same size. Did you look at those?
No, and I haven't seen those. And again, I won't say that's not in the realm of possibility. Sure, certainly you can, add trim and features and get a property to that size. But I am saying it's a pretty stiff price. And if somebody was looking for a property right now, and ultimately my concern isn't whether you can sell them as described or not. There's a huge concern as to whether they stay as described or not. And, we've got no ability to hold you to that. So, all things considered, I just hope that, as the council people hear our voice on this, that, they take those things into consideration for themselves with their own experiences that they've had and consultation with other council members and experiences they've had before they make a decision on how they want to vote.
Sure. So let me ask you a question. Are there any rental houses in your neighborhood?
Oh, absolutely. There are. And that doesn't mean that I'm opposed to rental units either. Right. But the reality is, if we're pitching it as single family owner occupied townhouses, then that's when that's what comes on the letter in the mail, that's what everybody's reading in the neighborhood. And that's the expectation that's being set. And it doesn't happen that way. Our homeowners association does allow for rental properties. That doesn't mean that everyone should. And nor does it mean that we should be, less than forthright, when we're having the conversation about how, if more density is allowed, what happens. And, the possibility of this turning into something more than what's there on the screen in front of us right now, which, look, it's beautiful. You guys, you do a lot of development work. You've got a great team of people putting together the presentations. It looks fantastic. When it turns out to not be what's promised or what people expect. And again, I point to a real nearby situation where that's happened, and it's turned into, to my mind, a real eyesore up and down Lebanon Road as I make my commute every day. I think that all facts are worth considering, not just the facts that we choose to put in the sales presentation.
I agree with you 100%. I think the facts are really important. So let me just say a couple things. First of all, we've been here doing this for 35 years. If I show up with a councilman and say, hey, we're going to build these 400,000 or 350,000 townhomes, and then we show up and we start renting them, guess what? I'm not going to get anything approved anymore, ever. And we don't do that. We don't buy property, have these meetings, spend all this money, and tell you we're going to do one thing and do another. We don't operate that way. We have projects all over Brentwood. We have stuff in Franklin, Gallatin, Hendersonville, Bellevue, Lebanon, downtown, West End, all over the place. Shopping centers, retail, office buildings, apartment complexes, and we do what we say we're going to do. Okay? That's what we do. If we tell you this is what we're going to do, it's what we're going to do. And we're going to build exactly what we tell you you're going to build. And if you'd rather have single family homes, that's what we'll do. We don't want to argue with you. We're just doing what you want us to do and did a traffic study. If you want more traffic, we'll do single family houses. If you want less traffic, we'll do this. Doesn't matter. It's not. It's okay. We're going to buy the land and develop it, and it's already zoned for single family homes. But I can tell you, they're going to be selling for as much as your house is across the street, and they're not going to be loaded up with children because children don't work well in townhomes. We think it's a great amenity for the area because there's a lot of aging people out there that want to stay in the neighborhood, that love the area, but they just want a different kind of a house. They don't want to go up and down stairs, and they don't have kids. So that's how this is designed, and it's not complicated. It's that simple. So it's a real. I mean, we'll do whatever you want us to do. Just tell us what you want to do, and that's what we'll do.
I would prefer the solution with less traffic, please.
Are y'all concerned about long-term rentals or short-term rentals?
Are you talking to me?
I think it's fair to consider both. Certainly, short-term rentals are going to be significantly more traffic than expected out of a retired couple.
So if this is Matt Wilkinson with the Metro Council office, if I can jump in here for a minute and clear up a couple of things. I remember something, I think it was Jeremy mentioned a little bit ago about the in Donaldson that grew extra dwelling units above what was originally proposed. 20 units that they're proposing here under RM6 zoning is the most that they are allowed under the proposed RM6 zoning. So they cannot add any more units other than the 20 without going back for another rezoning. In terms of long-term renting, so any rentals that have a renting period of 30 days or more, that cannot be regulated through a condition by council. It can be regulated through a private agreement through the HOA, but any sort of decision-making at council related to that would be a violation of the Fair Housing Act. And then if you guys do not want short-term rentals, we can convert this to a RM6NS district, which would prohibit short-term rentals. And if the developer and the council people are amenable to that change, that can be done. And that can be done all the way up until third reading. So with that, I'll turn it back over to the council member and see if he wants to, how he wants to continue the discussion. Thanks.
Matt, could I ask you to go back and just give me that zoning code one more time? What I'm looking at, I feel like what I'm looking at is the code that you gave. The proposal says RM like Mary 6 NS Nancy Sam. Is that the same one that you just that you just mentioned that doesn't
so they already applied for the RM6NS, and so short-term rentals are prohibited. So any rental in there would have to be at minimum 30 days or more, which would constitute a standard rent. But their HOA can go in after that and require rent periods to be 6 months, 12 months, no rentals and whatnot. That just can't come from us.
You can put the NS on the end of it.
Yeah, the NS is already on there. I had forgotten that we had made them change that already.
That's fine.
It was a while ago.
Thank you, Matthew.
Hey, this is Erin Evans. So I guess listening to the conversation, I appreciate all the information. I think kind of going back to Mr. Hodge and what he was discussing, I think, one thing that as I'm looking at it is, of course, around the, that it's intended for multifamily dwellings. And I guess gets into, I understand the idea that, if it's entitled RM6NS, then it doesn't just have to be townhouses, it could be apartments. Right? Am I right, Matthew?
That's correct, but they're still limited to 20 units. So 20 units as 20 townhomes or 20 units as in 20 apartments. But given the economics of the property, it would be economically bad decision-making to do 20 units as a smaller apartment when they can build the more square footage like they're proposing.
Okay, thank you for that. And then the, and I guess just to be clear, since I don't know, you build, you're entitling and you want to build. You're not entitling so you can flip the entitlement.
That's correct. And
Okay,
we're at this SP or straight zone?
No,
Okay.
not straight zone.
So no, we have every intention to do exactly what is on here. And you're talking to the team here. We're going to develop the property and we're going to build the units. We're not in Texas. We're not in Florida, California. We're based in Nashville. We drive up and down the street every other day. We want to be good Samaritans. It's not a smoke and mirror program in any way.
thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you.
And then we have no plans and are not going to rent them out. Everything costs way too much money for these to be rentals.
Okay, it's 6:57, so if we can get maybe one more question, or we can wrap it up now. Or we can take 2 more questions if the answers are short. Okay, great. Councilman Hagar, do you want to wrap up the meeting?
Yeah, I appreciate everybody being out here tonight. I appreciate them presenting the traffic study. I will talk and collaborate with Council Lady Evans some more about this. And then if anybody has any other questions, you can either contact Council Lady Evans or myself. And we'll talk more to the developers about this. And I hope that answer a lot of questions tonight. But if there's any more come up, y'all are welcome to contact us about it. Council Lady Evans, you got anything else?
No, sir. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you all. I believe that concludes the meeting.
Thank you guys so much.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, everyone.